Hey everybody, welcome back to more fun at the Red Barn. Thanks for stopping in. Last episode, we got started on the fuel system stuff, made some soft lines. In this episode, it's more of that. We get the fuel filter mounted, we get the pressure regulator figured out. We start working on some SendCutSend parts that came back for the water pump replacement plate and the coil mounts. Yeah, we're all over the place again, but I hope you enjoy. Back on the fuel lines. So, fuel filter is going to go right there. And the nice thing about this is it can slide in that clamp quite a bit of distance, so I can fine tune exactly where I want it. And there's a nice little route, ties into this little channel. Everything's under the sway bar like I mentioned. And so here's a quick way to do this, right? You can see, if I take you right down there, the hose is going to go to approximately where my fingernail is on that fitting. So I'm just going to put a piece of tape right there and go ahead and cut this line and get this fitting onto it, and we'll have that line completed. But you can see now, I still have a little bit of tweaking to do on the angle, but that hose just sits right down in that valley. This is obviously not welded down yet, but when it is, and again, you can see here, I can slide this to wherever I want that mount to be, wherever it's easily, I don't know, maybe like about there. But there is the fuel filter in place, essentially. And there's the bracket welded in. And here comes what it's going to look like when it's done and installed. So yeah, there you go. Fuel filter mounted. And my 30 degrees came in from Summit Racing, so I've just got those fitted here. So what I want to do is I want these to be all super cool looking, and I've got some flexibility on the underside, but you know, might as well make it as nice as possible. So same thing as before, I've pulled off the tube nut, whatever that part's called, and now I'm just making myself the mark for where I want to cut the line. And now I'm going to go make this line, put it on there, and then come back and mark this one. Okay, with that one made, now it's get the other one figured out, where I want it to route. And there are the lines done. And that's what I wanted. I wanted them to just, and there's a little bit of fine tuning on the angle that I can play with there, but basically I wanted that to be just like that. And I've got a couple of line clips right here, and that's nice and tidy. So, fuel lines at the front are all the way done. Here is some more lovely radium stuff. This is the fuel pressure regulator and pressure gauge. And then I just whipped up this little brackety bracket that holds it together. I'm probably going to make a different one. I didn't like this design as it turns out. I don't think I need 4 fasteners. So what I did was I cut a new shape. And I think I did my geometry right, but we're about to find out. So now I got to bend this thing. There's the old one, just a plain old 90. And here's the new one, which gets it at about a 45. And when it gets bolted onto the regulator, it all but disappears, and it'll look like that. And so this thing can now sit inboard right there. And the reason I needed that angle was because instead of mounting it down here, I wanted to move it up to get it above the motor and as far away from the exhaust as I could. And so that's where that's going to go. So there must be something in human nature, I don't know, where they've there's a saying, third time's the charm. Why is that? I don't know. I haven't looked up the evolution of that term, but here's version 1 was the 90, and that was going to go on the angled part of the firewall. Then I decided, nope, I wanted to go on the flat part of the firewall. So here's this version. But the problem became a couple things. One, I didn't think ahead, no surprise there. And getting the little, I'm using a little Allen head down in here. It was very difficult. And then I realized I'd have to put this on, and then I'd have to put this into the car. And then if I have upholstery here in the car, it's going to have to be removable at some point. Otherwise, in order to get this out, I'd have to peel back upholstery or what have you. So that was not a great one. And so version 3 is a little more complicated still. And what it is a little weld nut 90 that if I put it onto the regulator, and then this bracket, this bolts to the firewall, and I've got this little, now my little weld nut bracket goes right here. And now I have a 45-degree setup that the main bracket can be permanently affixed to the firewall, maybe even spot welded onto it as just a permanent part of the chassis. And then easily accessible Allens here, and I can remove the fuel pressure regulator and gauge as a separate item. So, version 3 it is. And if it's true that the third time's a charm and it's a typical human condition, I guess I'm in good company. Typical me fashion, I couldn't do a formal unboxing of the SendCutSend parts, but here it is. This is the water pump replacement plate, and this is the secondary bracket. I could not be happier. Now, I will zoom in and show you that from a water jetting perspective, you do end up with, let's call it an imperfection, but you know, that's part of the deal. And I just asked for these to be tumbled, or excuse me, I didn't ask for them to be tumbled. I think they just run them through a surfacer. So you do have a little bit of a sharp edge right here, but as I mentioned, 40 bucks or so for just the material to start making the part, or this for 60, done with the holes, with everything taken care of. And then this little piece, anodized with the fasteners already in it. It's awesome. And even better than that, check this out. Now you can see how this is going to work. So, obviously, the plate, and then these are the 1¼ inch hose ends that we need, and I sized this so that this will just weld right on there. And then this is an 1¾ inch to 1½ inch adapter, and this has the vent line that runs back to the filler tank. And then I got another one, I got 2 of these, and this one will weld on here. And then I'll just make a little saddle bracket that is bolted on here and attaches this, and we will have the front end of the water system done. Now, I am probably going to countersink all these holes and run, you know, socket head Allens, and so they'll be flush with the outside of this surface, just because I think that'll look cooler. So SendCutSend gets 5 stars. I mean, I could not be happier with that, and especially for the price, you just can't beat it. All right, and there it is, one welded fitting. And what else can I tell you? It rocks now. If I can do this, that's hot. But here you can see, this is a flat table, and you can see it rock, because that heat put a warp into it, just like we thought. So it goes to the mill and gets fly cut on the back side to get it back to flat. And then around the outside of that, on the other side, we have to dig a trench for the O-ring seal between this and the engine block, and then this piece will be ready to go. And there it is back in place with the hose end welded on. Now obviously we still have to do the seal in the back, but this is the general idea now is, this is going to be the water inlet. This is the water inlet to the motor. This is the water outlet. And this hose is going to come down here. I think I'm going to get rid of this compressor and get an electric compressor. The cabin in the 914 is small enough that these electric systems are probably going to be okay. And because these things weigh a ton, the outlet tubes are very near the headers, and this is where I wanted to put the electric water pump. And you can see how nice it'd be. I wouldn't have a belt running over here. All we'll have is a custom length alternator belt, and that's the only belt system in the car. But this stuff, I'm really happy. 5 stars out of 5 for SendCutSend. If you guys need sheet metal parts or stuff like this, I can highly recommend it now. I mean, I've had other stuff from them, but this has been really, really great. So yay, SendCutSend. And so this episode's all about SendCutSend, apparently. Here's the other project that they're working on for me. This is the coil mounts that I'm going to use. And the wacky shape of that one is because the cam position sensor requires this odd cut. So this is a 1-of-1 piece, and then I just reshaped the bottom hole and, you know, made it symmetrical with the rest of the part, and there'll be 3 of those. So that's this side. And the fun part about this motor is if I come over to this side, you might think that I could use the same piece, but look what happens. I mean, even if I turn it upside down, well, wait a second, the coil would be pointing in the other direction. I still have this issue with the cam sensor. So what that means is I have to have an entirely different shaped piece. So it's the same story here. This carries the coils at a slightly different angle because there's no way to get the coil angle to be the exact same side to side with these things here, and I didn't want the wires to point, you know, directly at this corner. I'm trying to aim them in a logical place through a little gap kind of a thing. And so the same thing with this piece. The mount hole will be tapped, and this one's oddly shaped for the cam sensor, but the rest of them will be, you know, they just won't have that chunk taken out of the corner of them, and then boom, boom, boom. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different designs for these things. And so the individual pieces I think were 13 bucks a piece, and the 3 pieces, you know, I have 3 of each set, and because I'm ordering 3, they're like 10 bucks a piece. So again, 1/4 inch tapped. I can't say enough about this this organization. It just makes it so easy. And the stuff comes in and it's lovely. I mean, look at that. It's going to be awesome. So those should be here in a few days, and we'll have one less thing to do. Okay, this time I will do a formal unboxing of the SendCutSend parts. Oh yeah, you get your little piece of candy and a little marketing brochure. And oh boy, stickers. Got some stickers. Gotta love stickers for the sticker wall. Packing slip. More candy. And now you can see how this stuff comes. Now these were tumbled. So the edges are a little bit better than on the water pump. A little bit better. They're nicer than what's on the edge of the water pump plate. And there's no sharp edges because they've been tumbled. So this looks like, let me just open up the 2 weird ones. And these are the 1-of-1 parts for the necessary clearance of the cam position sensor. So let us see how I did. Okay, here is this one. Oops, no, I lied. That's a regular one. I pulled the wrong one out. Look at me. There's this one. And look at that. That looks perfect. And then this one, if I measured correctly, should sit right like that. And it does. So let me go grab a coil and I'll show you what this whole shooting match will look like. And there's what it looks like all done. Now, obviously I'll have a cam position sensor in here. And yes, I have to make up some spacers for this height setting down here. So this is not tight, and I got to get the exact right length fastener so that it doesn't interfere with the head, or the valve cover rather. And I don't know if I'm going to use, I want to get fancier stuff than just a regular bolt head there. But that's how that's going to look. And then here you can see how those all set up. Gives me the wire angle that points it points just outside of the corner of this part of the valve cover. And if you come around and look at this one, here's all those lined up. And then this one is in with the cam position sensor in place. And there's just this little keep the wires tidy clamp that they have. I'll have to refresh that. But then this one points almost directly at that. So they're almost the same angle, which is going to be fine because by the time you get the intake manifold in here, you're never really going to be able to see the lack of symmetry. So, yeah, there are the coil mounts done. All right, so this is going to be a big do-over. This crossbar on the engine mount is, it's in the way. It's complicating getting water lines run. It's complicated, the shifter thing. It's probably doable, but I'm going to take it out. And what we're doing as Martin, say hi, Martin. Everybody say hi, Martin. Martin suggested, because the thing is, this has been welded on back here on both sides, blah-de-blah. So I suspect that when this gets cut, the dimension between these 2 points is going to change. So Martin says, why don't you make a pin gauge? And so that's what I've done here. I've made, it's a nice tight fit. We got a couple of big bolts welded to a little bar, and it sits here, and that's how that thing should fit. So then I said, okay, I'm gonna cut this out, and I was holding my little body saw, and Martin started giving me a really hard time. So now he's just challenged me. He threw a gauntlet down. He's got a cutoff wheel, and I'm gonna go get my air saw, and we're gonna see who goes faster through here. Well,
can I get that going?
Yeah, you can get that going, but check it first. And so when I come back, it'll be
3, 2, 1, go.
Dueling demolition.
Give me.
Don't cross the swords. Don't cross the streams. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. You done?
Yeah.
You're not done.
I can't break it. If I break
I don't want to hear any loud. He's kicking my ass. I lost my blade.
I'll leave that little tag in.
Oh, here we go. He can't get to it.
Yeah, I can.
It's not over till it's over. Oof. Not good. All right, that just moved in a lot.
Where's that pin gauge?
Right there. It's going to be like a ½ inch out.
Whoa.
Yeah, that moved like a ½ inch. So maybe this wasn't the best idea. So, good news, bad news. Good news is I've got lots of room for my lines. Bad news is it might never fit back in the car. All right, well that thing, it certainly sprung inboard. Probably by about a ½ inch overall. This is the pin gauge just set in the old, in the mounts, and it fits perfectly. And yeah, it went back in there, but as you can see, that hole ain't gonna let that bolt go through, and that one ain't gonna let that bolt go through, nor is that one. So what we're gonna do, but you can see that pin gauge is perfect. Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave this bolted in like this. We are gonna get a spreading device, probably just a mechanical car jack, and we're gonna spread this thing until the bolts drop through where they should be, and pin it there and get out the rosebud and heat up this area on these 4 tubes to get everything to relax. It looks like we did put a straight edge on it, and it looks like most of the curve from the welding distortion is happening right here. It pulled this in because of all this welding that went on. And it looks pretty even, right? So that's good news. So we're gonna have to just chase heating up each side and try to get this to spread evenly. It would have been good to have had this as the original design and put those firewall brackets, on the car with this already figured out. But there you go. And back to my earlier comment about third time's the charm, I actually decided I would look that up. And it seems like it comes from either something related to the Holy Trinity, or the one that I'm going to go with is, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And you get 3 times. right? So third time's a charm. This is only the second time, so hopefully this will fix it. So will this turn out to have been a good idea or less than a good idea? It certainly creates more work. So do-overs, you know, but I think it's going to be worth it once we have that bar out of the way. It's going to make life simpler for the systems that got to exist under that area. So I'm good with that. But I think I'm going to call that for this episode and say thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that great stuff. And we'll catch up with everybody again real soon. Y'all take care now. Bye-bye.